Hi everyone, welcome to the Great Big Indian Wellness Show presented by iGlobal. I'm Bhavna Pandya-Bharat. I am going to be taking you through this session today, and we have two incredible guest speakers who I'm going to be introducing to you. Our session today is about working to live or living to work, and our speakers are two incredible people who are going to be talking us through some points about whether we should be living to work or working to live. We have the amazing Sharon Kaur from Sharon Sami Coaching, and we have Gabriella Barodi, who is a master coach and advanced nurse practitioner. So obviously, during the pandemic, a lot of people have had time to reflect on various aspects of life, like work, health, family. I know I have priorities change, right? A lot of us, even though we've been working from, I've been working from home for the last 11 years, but it's still some form of adaptation because work's come to a halt. There's new things that have come in place. But there's a massive shift in people who've been working 9 to 5 in an office space, having to now come and work from home. So whilst we're navigating through unlocking the economy, we thought it'd be great to discuss the work-life balance, especially as working from home will become the norm for a lot of people. So Sharon Kaur, she is an inspirer, a motivator, and a serial manifester. And she's an empowerment life coach and intuitive healer. And she empowers her clients, influencing major breakthroughs against life's challenges, which is fantastic, Sharon, because that means that you're able to help people navigate through this pandemic and create more of a work-life balance, I suppose. So what do you think, Sharon, people are looking for right now? Like, what, in terms of work-life balance, are they looking to, live to work to live? Like, what are their priorities? What change or shifts are you noticing?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me today on iGlobal. So it's a big thing. It's a big topic area because obviously we've gone through the pandemic, so to speak. We're still in the midst of it globally, and it's affected us, worldwide, the whole evolution of, changes in our working lives, changes in our family dynamics, spending that quality time, with our family and even our children, if you live with your family, etc. But in terms of working to live, I always say, in terms of working to live, is a little bit like the survival mode. And the reason I say that is because I always say there's two areas that somebody can basically go down. Okay. The first area is basically they live life on default. And when I say default, is the person gets up out of bed and everything is exactly the same as what it was last month or 2 months ago. They're doing the same thing over and over again. And sometimes what I find is some particular people are expecting different results, but they're doing the same thing over and over again. So it's like living life on default and working to live, just showing up each and every day. And we can cover a bit more going into this a bit later. And then the other area is when you're living to work. And when you're living to work, it's a different energy. It's totally like a different dynamic. The person could be like joyful, happy. They're following their soul purpose, what they're really meant to do. That dream life, I say, where anything is possible. And this is where they're really thriving. And the main difference is, if you're listening out there, the main difference is just ask yourself the question, am I truly happy doing what I'm doing each and every day to do with my work or my business? Is it really fulfilling me? Is it making me happy? Is it ticking all those boxes, where you're spending that quality time with your family or your social aspect, your friends? Or is it the opposite? Are you dreading it? Each and every morning you're getting out of bed and you're dreading the day. You're feeling a bit tired. You want to go back to bed, fatigue, a little bit of anxiety. Is it really depressing you? Because that's the key warning sign of if you're working to live or if you're living to work. So that's what I would say.
That doesn't fulfill you anymore. That means that you should really be looking at digging deeper to find out what you really want to do. So Gabby, hi. So I'm just going to do a quick intro to Gabby because I love what you do, Gabby. So Gabby is the town councillor for Abingdon in Oxfordshire, but she's also a qualified coach who works to support and empower people with confidence, self-awareness, self-expression, decision-making, and just generally creating a new future. and she's got a nursing and educational background, and you're obviously helping these nursing students and paramedics, and you're coaching them at the same time, and you're kind of doing, you're helping people become more aware and more confident in what they should be doing, and like a life purpose. So
yeah, interesting. Just in what was already said is a fascinating time at the moment, because we've all heard this, or I assume we've all heard the reset button. Let's press the reset button. Some people have been on furlough, some people have been working from home, some people have shifted to different jobs. It's always like we've had a transition here, even if it might just be temporary. And the reset button is exactly what's already been said. It's like, okay, how do I really want to create my life? I mean, I'm passionate that people get to create their lives, and it does occur at times that, no, I need to work and I need to earn and I need to pay my mortgage or my rent, my bills and all that, look after my children, whatever it is. But now there's a real sense of, well, maybe not. Maybe I don't need to do that anymore. And people are becoming a little bit more confident in saying no. No, that actually doesn't work for me anymore, but here's a solution to that. So, we can't just go to our bosses and go, I'm not doing that anymore, right? And that's it. But actually what's coming back is, here's a solution. Because this sort of transition between working from home, and for me, I've done quite a lot of that over the last year. I've also had the privilege of going out and teaching resuscitation skills on site because they're deemed essential. So I've been able to get myself out and about as well. So I've had a blend. So I've really loved that. I kind of like variety anyway. But for some people, they have been at home. Students, for example, they're looking at four walls all the time. They don't have that interaction. They don't have the peers that are normally around having a chat, whatever it is. They've had to rely totally on Zoom, Teams, and all of that. So mental health wise has been a real problem.
That's what I was going to come to. I'm like, going to say like that, this whole environment of working from home. And yes, of course, there's so many people now having to adapt. There's a mindset shift, right? And a lot of people who are not used to working from home, like I'm used to working from home. You've been working from home, but you've had a blended approach. I'm at home on my own, at my desk, no one to talk to really, and you're just typing away and you're looking at your screen the whole time. Do you think that, of course, there is a mental health issue here, and there is a mindset issue here, but do you think like it's creating hermits? Do you think people are getting so used to working from home that, with this whole pandemic, that they are finding it hard to reintegrate into society and get back into the joy of going back to maybe the workplace that they once enjoyed, but now they're no longer enjoying? And obviously on the other flip side of it will be people who love working from home so much and it's changed their life. Maybe if you're a woman, it's given you the freedom to take your kids to school and bring in and pick them up. Maybe you weren't able to do that when you were working 9 to 5, but you can do it this way. So there will also be, so there'll be people who are really struggling because they want to have some normality back. And there are people who will actually not want to go back to an office space because they've been maybe more productive. So what do you think? Do you think that there are going to be people who just don't want to come out? They're going to be like, I'm just not ready to go back out into that world.
If it's all right to go first,
yeah, please.
I think a bit of both. I think there's some people that have absolutely thrived working from home. They've managed the school runs. You have to just take that demographic, if you like. They've been able to schedule. They've been able to have breaks. They've just adapted, and that school run and the commute has gone, I would argue, forever in its original sort of format. Thrived on it, loved it, kind of got a balance, got a way forward. However, there's others that have not liked it at all. The solitude. Some people love solitude, right? Working from home for some people has been a blessing. They don't have to see people. They're not triggered if they have anxiety issues by being in person with another. They've loved it. And for them, it's really difficult to kind of the thought of like, do I have to go back to what I did before, which was quite stressful. So it's that, I think it's twofold. I think there's people that have thrived and they will continue to thrive and they'll adapt and get a hybrid, way of working. There's others who, for the nature of their work is more in person, more. And I think those people are struggling with like, well, what do I do with that? I give an example, even for children, school children that have really, blossomed at home on the online, have just loved it. And coming back to the classroom area, You know, my teacher, my sister's a head of a primary school. We talk a lot about this. She said she's noticed a lot of children coming back face to face with others are just not the same. That they've loved that solitude and the ability to do things at their own pace. So I think it's a twofold thing. I think some people have become hermits, if you like, but thrived on it. But some have become in a way that it's now difficult to transition back to what they probably need to do. So I do think we have a problem.
I like the idea. I like the example that you give of school children, because I have a 5-year-old, and you know, integrating back into school for him was not an issue. But for the older children in his school who have a better understanding of what's happening, there are kids who, you know, will be better suited to like homeschool, because they are getting they're you know, it's a personality thing, isn't it? Some people are better suited to that, and kids as well. But we, from such a young age, ingrained that you've got to have this routine. You're going to go to school, and this is going to happen. Similar then follows on into work life. That your routine is that you will graduate and you'll get a job, and you'll, you know. So from a very young age, we are told about routine and having that in place. And what I think has happened with the pandemic is that we no longer have that routine mentality. I think we have some sort of, okay, we need to still do, if I'm working from home, I still have all these things to do, but there is a bit more flexibility. And I think people are enjoying that flexibility. So, you know, Sharon, what do you think, you know, as people work from home more, like, is there really a balance? Like, do you think there is, or can that balance be achieved? Can people live to work? Or, you know?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I echo what Gabby mentioned about before, about there is the two divides, you know, the people that actually thrive and they love, you know, the dynamics of working from home, having that flexibility, like you mentioned as well. But then there's the others that are like, you know, feeling a bit isolated, even lonely, and they just want to get back out into the workplace. They want to have that social interaction, you know, away from the Zoom. They want to have that face-to-face contact. So in terms of having the balance, I guess overall, it's about going inwards with that individual, because obviously we are all unique, and you know, we've got different preferences, etc. But what I've initially found, especially working with my coaching and my healing clients, is that the whole reality of the pandemic and what's happened is the question of, you know, what is normal? You know, what is normal? Because back in the day, like, you know, years ago, it was questionable whether, you know, people could still fulfill their job roles working from home, you know, having that flexibility, whether you had to go to a physical location. And even myself, I was 20 years in the banking world, and slowly they were integrating the agile working, but there was still that whole persona of people questioning, well, actually, can you still do your job effectively and efficiently at home without having the distractions of the TV and, you know, making a cup of tea every 5 minutes and all of that lovely stuff? But now the pandemic is actually, I feel, has opened up the whole world of questioning, well, what is norm? What is the norm? Because we are creating our own norm. And what I also feel as well is working with my clients is that it's now coming to the point where they are questioning, well, actually, you know, the whole new dynamics of what's evolved, you know, being at home throughout the various lockdowns, having more time with, you know, the people that they live with at home, you know, the family, the children, the partner, etc. And then really questioning, actually, do I really like the work that I'm doing? You know, am I, you know, living to work or working to live? Or actually, you know, what's my dream? You know, what's my desire? Have I got a dream to be on TV, for example, which was one of my dreams like years ago? And from banking, 3 years in banking after university, I took that step where I went against my ego mind, which was telling me, no, keep safe, keep small, keep in your comfort zone. Don't go out there, don't do something completely different when everybody is telling you it's impossible. And I managed to get a permanent role on a top TV soap without any acting experience. But that's like just an example that I went through. But what I feel at the moment is people are really questioning now, and they're really standing up for themselves and thinking, okay, what do I want to do? You know, can I do something alongside the day job?
I think what's happened is the mindset has changed. And you're absolutely right. There are clients who we've all seen, Gabby, myself, you, over the last 18 months, who have decided to take a stance, who've decided to change the way they live and encourage more creativity in their lives, more freedom in their lives, whether it's through changing jobs, whether it's to deciding that actually working from home is for them or isn't for them. You know, they've all gone through a massive mindset shift. And I'm sure, Gabby, you're seeing that happen as well, that people are starting to recognize the benefits of living living to work as opposed to working to live. What tips would you give people? So, Gabby, if you want to go first, like if you want to share a few techniques, maybe how they could create a balance so they're not constantly working to live. Like maybe a great way to have a work-life balance where they are enjoying what they do, you know, and just kind of bring it together here as well. Like there will be people listening who actually are living to work, but have found themselves recently maybe spending more time where it feels like they are working to live because the way they work has changed, the dynamics have changed. So what tips would you share with people? What techniques, like what would you advise people to do? Like, yeah, Gabby, if you want to.
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind. Firstly is, meditation is kind of one of those things that people thought, yeah, you have to be that sort of person to do it. But actually, it's so mainstream now, it is easy to do. So what I recommend to people, that's the first thing, is to bring a bit of breathing into their day. For example, I don't know, most people have heard of like 5-5-5, 4-4-4. You take 4 or 5 seconds in, hold it for 5, out for 5, a couple of times a day. That kind of resets the mind, refocuses, gets the oxygen in, and then you can change your perspective. That's just one thing to bring in quite easily. Secondly, when if we're working from home and we've got our calendars in front of us and then Zooms are coming in and deadlines are coming in, it can occur as very overwhelming. Whereas if we were in person, we were probably more chatty and we probably had a different balance of the day. So there's techniques. There's one called 45-15. It's not that it's uncommon, but I've kind of introduced it to people, wherefore instead of having this big to-do list that never one thing gets crossed off, another thing gets put on, you spend 45 minutes solidly at a task, whatever you say it is, then you have the 15 minutes back on to check the emails, the phones. So those 45 minutes, that's all you're going to do. And it's truly amazing what you get done in that time. It can also give you some more time in that day to do other things as well. So you're 45-15. It's not like you have to do that every hour. You have a break, you do it again, you schedule that into your day, and then the calendar doesn't appear so overwhelming. And then I think the final thing that kind of comes to mind is, this gratitude. I know a lot of people, including myself, are like starting to think, God, I'm really grateful for family I've got in my life, for the ability to choose the things that I do to make a difference to others. And I'm really conscious of that at night. And I do write, 1 or 2 things down that I'm grateful for, even just think them. And, another technique is to look and think, okay, so before we go to bed, what's my purpose for tomorrow? Now, it's not like everyone wants to do that, but it's a little tip. Like you go to bed like, okay, what's my purpose for tomorrow? And then something happens when you sleep. And then the next day, something will come out of that. It's not like we have to see exactly what that is, but it's all about experiencing that in a way the next day. So these are like little tips, there are obviously lots more, but these sort of things you can sort of put those into your daily life, start bringing them in, and they do make a difference.
Sharon, what about you? Yeah. Like, if you want to give us some quick tips before we start our session.
Yeah, thank you. And Gabby, those tips that you gave were absolutely fantastic. I utilize all of them, and they're so powerful, and they can be so life-changing. One of them, before I go into my tips, is like you mentioned a lot, the gratitude. 15 years ago, I started my personal development journey, and gratitude was the most life-changing thing for me. Even stating every day, each and every day, I'm so happy and grateful for, and then mentioning 5 things, it not only puts you in that state of like thanks and appreciation, but it actually changes that positive, that energy, that vibe, that positivity, and it kind of sets up your whole day. And that's what I've actually instilled each and every day, because people say to me, a lot of my people on my Facebook group, my friends, my family, social peers, etc., they say, why are you always so high vibe? I'm like, because it's my morning routine. So I guess my first tip is have a morning routine. Now, for me, just as a quickie, my body clock wakes me up at 5 o'clock. I've got 2 wonderful earth angels, okay, and they tend to wake up about 7, 7:30, getting ready for school. So I need some time in the morning for me, not just the mommy, not just the wife or the worker, etc., for me. And that consists of, I do my morning activation meditation, which I've put together myself, which is so powerful. It sets up the intentions and, you know, utilizes gratitude, etc. And then what I tend to do then is, in the mindfulness, the moment of the present, of the here and the now, connect inwards, go inwards and just connect into your feelings and your emotions, and just say to yourself, how am I feeling right now in this moment? And even if it's a case of getting pen and paper and journaling on it, you know, are you feeling that anxiety because you've got the whole day ahead and you've got all these meetings and these time pressures? Or are you actually feeling really joyful and really happy because you've got the freedom to do the things that you want to do? You know, and it's that contrast. So writing it down, it kind of gives you that download, and it actually, it's a form of release as well as healing. So I find journaling in the morning is so powerful. Then it's going on to the affirmations, which is like, I'll give you a couple of my affirmations, which I really use daily, and they're so impactful. So my first affirmation is, anything is possible. Just keep saying to yourself, anything is possible. You can do anything if you put your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, your heart into it. Anything is possible. Anything. And then the next mantra that I use on a daily basis, and a lot of my clients use it and they see amazing results, is, it's very simple. It's 6 words. I can, I will, I am. So I can, I will, I am. And it sets you up in that power stance where, you know, things are not impossible. They're actually possible. You can create fantastic, you know, greatness in your life. So a couple more tips before I stop is, when you center yourself and you know what you're feeling, and whatever that is, the contrast of the positive or the negative, go even deeper and say to yourself, well, actually, if I could live my dream life, what would that look like? You know, is it going to the office? Is it starting a business? What does that look like? And get a piece of paper and brainstorm. And this is what I do with a lot of my clients, but we go deep dive into 9 key areas of your life, and just deep diving. What is it? What that really sets your soul on fire? You know, and the ego self will come in and it will say, oh, you don't want to do that. Stay small, stay in your comfort zone. We don't want to go, you know, go over there and expand and try new things. But then listen and connect to your higher self, because that always knows the way. And then once you've done that, write down some key baby steps, because it's not just going to land on your lap. It's about taking the inspired action. And it's like what Gabby mentioned about the student with the dissertation, writing in the diary, the dissertation. Writing the baby steps, you know, making a phone call, you know, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Making a simple phone call, sending a simple email. And the last point I want to mention is, which kind of summarizes working to live or living to work, is, with the work that I do as an empowerment coach and intuitive healer, I always feel that if you love with a passion what you do in each and every day, it's never called work, because it's like your soul calling. It's your soul purpose. It's what you're meant to do. And it's never work if you really love what you do. And that's what I really instill in my clients, to live that dream life where anything is possible. So, yeah, so I hope you have fun utilizing all of those tools.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Karen. Absolutely. The point that I'll make before we wrap up this incredible session, I've had a great time speaking to you both. You have so much insight and knowledge, and, you know, everyone that's watching, please do, you know, find Gabby and Sharon on LinkedIn or Facebook. But very recently, someone sent me an article that just kind of hit the head, you know, on the neck. Like, it was like, this is why I love doing what I love, and being able to have that freedom is changing the I have to I get to. So I get to spend time with my kids. How amazing is that? I get to pick them up from school. How amazing is that? I get to set my own routine. How amazing is that? It's not, oh, I have to. The moment, oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that. The moment you say, oh, I have to, it's like a chore, right? It's like, well, you don't have to. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. But if you start looking at it from, actually, I'm really grateful that I get to pick up my children from school. Like, how incredible. Not everyone has that opportunity. Or how amazing that I get to go on holiday whenever I want, or that I get to support my parents, or that I get to, you know, buy a nice dress. all these things become part of your mindset and the way you decide what is best for you, whether you working from home is good for you or not, whether creating that work-life balance is important for you or not. And I know work-life balance is the key to having a joyful life, right? To having a contentment, like a content life. I don't know what I was going to trying to say there, but having a content life, having a more fulfilled life, and that kind of dream life that you talk about, Sharon, as well. And I think in the end, it comes down to your sole purpose and what you want to achieve. So hopefully all the things that Gabby and Sharon have spoken about today, you'll implement some of those and make a change if that is what you're looking to do. But yeah, thank you for joining me today, Gabby and Sharon.